Washington has just admitted something no one expected. The US is running out of sanctions to use against Russia. This shocking revelation comes as Ukraine faces a financial cliff and Europe struggles to keep its unity intact. Stay with me. This story changes everything. After years of relentless economic pressure, sanctions, and political standoffs, it seems the United States may have reached the end of its sanctions playbook against Moscow. But what does that mean for global politics, energy markets, and the ongoing war in Ukraine? Let's break it down. Before we begin, if you're passionate about staying informed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our growing community of global watchers who care about truth and context behind the headlines. Speaking from Gyeongju, South Korea, US. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made a striking confession on Wednesday. He revealed that Washington has nearly exhausted its list of targets for sanctions against Russia, following its latest move to blacklist two of the country's most powerful oil giants, Lukoil and Rosneft. According to Rubio, the decision to sanction these companies wasn't made in isolation. It came, he said, at the direct request of Ukraine and its Western allies, who have been urging Washington to go after Russia's energy backbone for months. Just weeks earlier, President Donald Trump had authorized this new round of sanctions, an escalation that also blocked Lukoil's attempt to sell its foreign assets to a Swiss-based energy trader. The US Treasury claimed the buyer had close ties to the Russian government. Rubio summed it up bluntly. "We hit their major oil companies, which is what everyone's been asking for. I don't know what more there is to do. We're running out of things to sanction." That candid admission has quickly sparked debate across policy circles. Has Washington really reached the limit of its sanctions strategy? In his remarks, Rubio also suggested that Europe should now take the lead in tightening the screws on Russia. Specifically, he pointed to the so-called Russian shadow fleet, a network of oil tankers accused by Western nations of secretly transporting Russian oil to avoid sanctions. A lot of these ships operate much closer to Europe, Rubio noted, so European governments are in a better position to deal with them. That statement signals a possible shift in Washington's strategy as the US looks to share the burden, or perhaps the blame, of economic warfare with its allies across the Atlantic. But not all European nations are eager to follow suit. Some EU members have expressed growing fatigue over the endless sanctions cycle, especially as their own economies grapple with energy shortages, rising prices, and slowing growth. Despite years of unprecedented sanctions, from banking restrictions to technology bans, Russia's economy has proven far more resilient than many Western experts predicted. The Kremlin has redirected oil and gas exports to Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, while strengthening trade ties with China, India, and several Gulf states. According to Moscow, these shifts have allowed the country to stabilize its economy and even expand certain sectors, despite being largely cut off from Western markets. In essence, while sanctions have hurt, they have not broken Russia, and that's becoming increasingly evident to both Washington and Brussels. For the United States, the question now is, if the sanctions have lost their sting, what comes next? While Washington looks for new ways to pressure Moscow, Ukraine's economic situation is growing dire. Reports suggest that Kiev could run out of money by February unless it receives another wave of Western aid. In response, the European Union has proposed a massive 140 billion euros, or roughly $160 billion, reparation loan. The idea is to use frozen Russian sovereign assets as collateral to keep Ukraine's government afloat. However, that proposal has triggered serious disagreements inside the EU. Belgium, which holds the majority of those frozen Russian funds through the Euroclear financial clearinghouse, has blocked the move for now. Belgian officials argue that other Western nations must share the financial and legal risks, fearing that the use of Russian funds could lead to years of international legal disputes, or even retaliation. Rubio's comments may sound like a small policy admission, but they carry huge geopolitical weight. If the US truly has no more major sanctions left to impose, it could signal a turning point in how the West approaches the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Washington's traditional playbook, economic pressure, diplomatic isolation, and military aid to Ukraine, may be reaching its limits. That leaves the US and its allies at a crossroads. Either find new ways to pressure Russia, or begin considering alternative diplomatic paths. For Russia, this moment is being seen as proof that sanctions fatigue is setting in, that the West's unity is beginning to show cracks. For Ukraine, it's a reminder that its survival still depends on Western support, and that even powerful allies like the US have their limits. So what happens next? Will Europe pick up where Washington left off? Will new sanctions emerge, or is the West preparing for a different kind of strategy? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear: even the most powerful tools of economic warfare eventually lose their edge. If you found this report insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more global updates and in-depth analysis of the world's most pressing political stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. And join the discussion in the comments below. Do you think sanctions have failed to change Russia's course? Or are they slowly wearing it down behind the scenes? Even Washington admits it's out of sanctions. Do you think this means a shift toward diplomacy? Or more confrontation ahead? Europe might be next to take the lead in sanctioning Russia. Will they go along? Or push back for their own economic survival? Let's discuss below.